This episode of Outdoor Journal Radio is brought to you in part by the Invasive Species Centre, protecting Canada's land and water from invasive species. Freedom Cruise Canada, rent the boat, own the memories. J&B Cycle and Marine, your home for all things power sports, boats, and equipment. And Sail, the ultimate destination for your outdoor adventures. Well, howdy, folks. Thank you for joining us once again. Peter Bowman, Angelo Biola, and the rest of the crew.
Yo.
You know who we're talking about.
Come on now.
I'm not even going to mention them by name today.
Come on now.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about
they
it.
get a lot of
why am I doing
accolades
that?
in that. It's you and I, right? This is
they get paid.
Get paid.
Okay, to me, that's the deal, right?
They get
there.
paid weekly.
Very weekly. Wonderful program, I think, today.
It's going to be good.
Because I'm a little worried about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I can see that.
We'll be joined a little later on. Special guest is Stephen Smith.
Stephen Smith.
Yeah.
It's a great name. Stephen Smith.
Well, that's real.
I'm
It almost
Stephen
sounds
Smith.
like it's made up. Like a quick somebody said, what's your name? Stephen Smith.
It's your YouTube name, right?
Stephen Smith has been, among other things, he produces some wonderful how-to videos in the outdoors arena. Does a lot of product comparisons, a lot of product use, a lot of product reviews. But he put two particular pieces out that caught our attention because they're very near and dear to our life, and that is about waterproof outerwear, and in particular membranes like GORETEX, because I grew up on GORETEX much like you did.
Everything out there is using GORETEX in the form of good rainwear. That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah,
Hey, is it GORETEX? Yeah, okay. That's
exactly.
Good.
As soon as that name,
Right on,
you know
that's
that you are going to be high and dry.
Yes,
right?
sir. He might tell us how high we're going to get on that stuff. You never know.
Well, PFAS is a byproduct of these outer layers, inner layers, sprays, we'll find out all about that. But in the studies that Stephen conducted showed that PFAS was the byproduct that comes out of this stuff that we need to be concerned with. So
it's got over 84 million views
and
over 204 videos. That's a lot of views right there. He's doing good.
Pretty good.
So
he'll join us in a bit and dispel some of the myths maybe about the things that I love, and that is waterproof, breathable.
Yeah, you got to be dry and comfortable, right?
Membranes,
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Moving along, fishingcanada.com.
Mm-hmm.
The place, the portal, the gateway to your next fishing adventure.
All our new articles are coming out on there too, as per the episodes that are coming out, these new episodes. And the new episodes are coming out on there too, so you can access the YouTube videos through fishingcanada.com as well. So there you go.
But let's not forget that we also have the store there, Dean. You had it up there, and then you took it away on me.
Yeah. Well, because I threw one into Dean.
Yeah, you did.
Right?
You kind of. He's
well,
good.
We're always throwing these advertises. I thought, let's get the people into there. Maybe they want to see the shows and stuff.
Wouldn't you love one of these?
I'd love a brook trout right now. Fried, 14-inch fried brook trout.
This is the brook trout. You wouldn't eat a brook trout, would you?
Our frog's green. Our brookie's colorful.
God.
You've eaten brook trout before. You have.
I have, but very, very limited.
I've seen a picture on a stringer back in Algonquin. I've seen those in the archives.
Yes.
And bigger than the ones I ate,
but
too.
Very limited, and I was young and foolish and all that stuff.
Yes. Okay.
I don't think I would eat one today.
Really?
First of all, I'm not a big fan of
nice
trout.
12-incher.
Right?
I'm not either, but the little brookies and the little brown trout, those little stream browns are as good or better than brook trout. And I got to say, I've never used to be a fan of rainbows much, but rainbow trout are very good eating too if they're smaller size and they're done right. So, I don't know, Lakers, you can throw those old greasy guys back in the drink.
I'm not a big fan.
No.
Bull
trout, Dean, you ever eaten bull trout?
Yeah, my experience wasn't very good.
Yeah.
I wanted to try it just because the place I was in, BC, is one of the only places you can, because you can't keep them pretty much anywhere.
Okay.
But the place I was in, you could, so I thought I'd try it, and it wasn't very good.
They're big salmon eaters. You think they'd
like
be,
lake
if they were
trout.
eating salmon, they might be good eating.
They're
but maybe not.
scavengers, though, a lot of the time.
Yeah, they
I
are,
don't know.
yeah. Yeah.
We ate grayling one time in the only place where you could.
Yeah, British
Remember
Columbia.
that? In BC, in the mountains.
It was
of BC.
good.
It was
Nice.
as yeah.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be though? When we always
Living in
we
that
try
beautiful
fish-
water, like
Exactly.
the best water
Exactly.
quality out there.
I'd probably taste good if I lived in that. Listener feedback. Dave Fleming via YouTube. Dave Fleming via YouTube in response to episode 155, which was how to make a fishing show.
Yeah,
We did that?
Yeah, we did that. Remember, we went through a bunch of stuff that
The
people don't really
formula for our
realize.
episodes.
I love being my age for a couple of reasons.
I know. Here comes the Easter egg thing, right?
Exactly. I can hide shit on myself, and then I'm shocked when I find it.
What about though when you accidentally hide your keys, for instance, your wallet, for instance? That's not real
Then-
fun, is it?
Then I have to ask people
There's
to
a
help me.
panic button that be pushed instantly right there. Where the hell did it go? Oh my God, I hate that one. My lovely wife called me the other day from her sister's place.
Her sister.
And she said, can you, that was good. Do you know I like yours better than his? He goes, it was very good together, boys. And she did the old key thing like that. She said, can you come and pick me up, my sister's? I says, well, I lost my keys. I don't know where my keys are. So I get 95% there, driving my truck up to get her for her car with the spare key that she had. And she calls me, I heard the phone ring. I thought it was her. I said, oh, shit. Okay, you found them, right? Yes, we found them. Where are they? Well, Shelly has the same coat as me, and she had to put her coat in the closet, but it was my coat. She put it in the closet, and her coat was sitting out there.
Oh, my
I says, have a nice day there, honey. Okie dokie. Speaking of lost keys.
Oh, my God.
Oh, shit.
Where was I? Dave Fleming.
Yes, Dave.
Via YouTube. I didn't forget him. Dave Fleming, in response to episode 155, how to make a fishing show. How did we get from how to make a fishing show to your wife losing her keys? That's what I want to know.
It was a memory thing. It was all about memories. Then
That's
we
all I
talked
wanna
to
know.
keys, and then not memories. Because in my wife's conversation, the memory kind of like it's a lost cause. Thanks for the memories, honey.
And I have to read this next line from Dave Fleming. He says, great show, guys. Obviously not this one.
Maybe Dave's entertained with this silliness.
So Dave Fleming says, great show, guys. I enjoy the shows the most with just you guys talking and explaining things. Sometimes when the biologists and the science guys, well, he's going to
not gonna like
today,
show.
are on, they get too technical, LOL. I enjoy the show the most with you two. Anyway, great info as always, and I will be making it up to Canada soon.
Yeah.
Thanks again, guys, and keep up the great work. Where is he from?
He doesn't.
He's from the U.S.
Well, obviously he's, but duh.
No, he could. There's like a million other spots he could be.
Well, he
says,
said make it
I'm
up.
coming
He's got to go
up.
north.
Yeah, look at all the places.
Brazil?
Look at
Mexico,
all the places that are down.
Brazil,
Almost everything's
Patagonia,
down.
Tierra del Fuego.
Yeah.
You know,
Ooh, look at
the
you.
Baja Peninsula. There's lots of southern places down there.
That's interesting. Tell us when you guys write these things in. Tell us where you're from. It'd be nice to know.
Yeah.
Then
But it's a great comment. Anyways, thanks, Dave. That
For
was, appreciate that. And we enjoy the shows too ourselves. But I really do like getting the lowdown on technicalities on fish finding, on biology, fish biology, and all that stuff. And it helps us. It opens our eyes up too. So hopefully we can keep everybody happy.
Yeah,
with,
like to me, Fish Talk with the Doc is golden.
We just keep wanting more and more.
More.
for
I
us,
do the
yeah.
whole show
Yeah.
as Fish Talk with the Doc.
Yeah. But that's okay.
But I can understand. I
Yeah.
can understand why people would say it's a little too
Technical.
out there.
Yeah.
That's cool. We try and mix it up. We do a little bit of everything.
Oh yeah, we're mixed up. We're good mixer uppers. So
There you go.
We're mixed.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Dave.
for the comment, Dave, from wherever you are from.
Dave from the south,
From the
somewhere.
south. Conservation Corner brought to you by the Invasive Species Centre.
The tench, the beautiful and lovely tench, as you see, and for those that are watching YouTube right now, you can see this very perch-like critter up there, except for that dorsal fin is not a spiny, it's kind of a soft, but he's got a very perched look to him, that head especially, the yellow perch.
The
right?
eye, the head, yeah.
Which fish? We're going to say it's the tench already. It's invaded there almost every corner of the planet aside from Antarctica, and it has caused notable damage in regions where it has become prolific. And that is the tench, of course. It's a medium-sized, deep-body fish with small scales, tiny scales, as you can see in that picture. Again, that means you got to look at it on YouTube. You should, if you're listening only. These striking olive-color fish were brought into Canada illegally in 1986. That's unusual too. They brought in illegally. That seems to be a real ongoing issue. It seems like it's almost the issue with fish species.
1986, that's when we started. I was trying to figure out what the hell's 1986.
See that? When somebody said, I'll get you guys, you're going to...
And that was the birth of the Fishing Canada show, because they knew, whoever that was, that one day Fishing Canada would be talking about this
their
critter.
illegal introduction of that species of fish, the tench, to Canada.
Wow.
Not good. Not cool, but... Here we go. We're giving them his attention that he wanted, her, whatever.
They are highly adaptable to new environments that compete with native fish like minnows, in our case, bluehead, suckers, anything that they cohabitate with, they compete heavily, and in most cases will outdo. They eat significant amounts of snails, insects, and other benthic invertebrates.
I'm going to learn that word one day. I'm going to learn that. I'm going to leave it for now. I'm going to say I don't need to know what that is. I just like the...
Not only
live on bottom.
Oh, dude, you had to ruin it, Dean. It's a bottom dwellers. Okay.
Not only could they outcompete native species for food, but it is predicted that tench could decrease water quality and increase the transmission of different parasites and diseases between other fish in the Great Lakes. So they're a bit of a
carrier or something.
What do you call it? Vector. Vector.
What's your vector, Victor?
As well.
Yeah.
Right.
This is why Ontario has made them a prohibited species under the Invasive Species Act, meaning it is illegal to import, possess, transport, or release them anywhere in the province. That's the big one, release them anywhere in the province. I mean,
I would think if they've been here since 1986, that they should be... there should be a few of them out there.
Yeah,
and we've never
you
seen
and I have
one.
never, yeah.
No,
Never
we're
seen
not. We don't put ourselves in
tench
position.
country.
Tench. Well, to do that.
But you think, when you're back in the days when you're smelt fishing,
Right.
when you're doing all that kind of stuff.
Maybe we did get some and we didn't know what we were seeing.
Maybe baby tench.
And that's maybe it's happening right now. And that's why, more than anything else, we need to arm ourselves with knowledge. First of all, we need to know what these things look like. Because as we just mentioned,
great point. Because if even though we're looking at that fish and we're thinking it's a 1 pounder or a 2 pounder, what if it's a 2 incher?
Right.
You're taking a look real close. You got to say, wait a minute, that's not a mud minnow.
Yeah.
You
need to arm yourself with all kinds of knowledge. You can do that at the Invasive Species Centre website, where I think they have a downloadable image that you can actually put on your phone.
Your phone, yeah,
and you'd be good to go. More importantly, by having all this information, you can help, hopefully, curb it. Certainly not eradicate it if it's been here since '86. But
that'd be a tough
definitely, that'd be a tough one. But definitely get more information in the right hands of people by reporting sightings to the Invading Species Hotline or online at EDDMaps. That's maps with an S.com. Did anybody ever figure out what EDD maps?
Yeah, we talked about it one time on
Yeah,
the
I know,
show.
but I've forgotten already.
Come on, Dean.
Refresh my
I
memory.
remember, but I'd
It was
rather
a guy
people
named,
go back and find
it was Ed's maps,
Oh,
but they just
oh.
wanted to change it. Ed brought them over. It was Ed's maps, and he said, "Here, you guys can
Borrow
use them
my
too."
maps, and
All
it'd be good to go.
Thanks, Ed.
That's EDDMAPS.com and help keep our waterways free of invaders.
Very good.
In the news,
Tench.
Mr. Bowman.
Damn tench, eh? In the news, Lake Diefenbaker named as top ice fishing destination in Canada.
How does that happen?
I know. This is brought to us courtesy of Calvin Pennell. Again, we just mentioned Calvin not that long ago on the Fishing Canada fan page and Facebook Fishing Canada fan page. This is from a website called Fishing Booker. It's an online platform for booking fishing trips. I don't know where they're based out of or not. I took a quick look at that before this, and it does have some good advice. It came up to, it knew where I was. It said charters in Whitby, charters in Pickering, and all that stuff. So it seems like a decent website. But
How do they determine that
this?
Diefenbaker is
number
top
one
ice fishing destination in Canada?
Yeah.
Not to take anything away from Diefenbaker. I'm
No.
sure it's a wonderful fishery.
Exactly.
But I'm just curious.
I'm looking at this list of there's 9 lakes. We'll go through them, but I'll go through them right now. Lake Diefenbaker, number 1. Kamloops in BC is number 2. Lake Simcoe in Ontario is number 3. Lac Saint-Pierre in Quebec. We remember that one, eh? Monsieur Bowman won the first Ranger boat in Canada there ever. Lake Winnipeg in Manitoba. Gull Lake, Alberta. Grand Lake, New Brunswick. Grand Lake,
Newfoundland. NL, buddy. NL. Newfoundland.
2 Grand Lakes. That's confusing. Okay.
Well,
and Lake George in Nova Scotia.
How many round lakes are in the world?
Yeah, true.
Right.
True. So, and Gull Lakes, and Gull Rivers and Gull Lakes.
Right.
But I'm wondering, I mean, we never even, honestly, I've never heard of half these lakes. No offense to the provinces, but I haven't heard of.
I was wondering how
Lake
they do
George,
it as well.
Nova Scotia. How do you compare that, Lake George, Nova Scotia, over the Bay of Quinte in Ontario? I'm not going to say Bay of Quinte is better and all, but I mean, there's a lot of people that catch a lot of fish in the Bay of Quinte, right? Lake Nipissing, huge for fishing, right? So I don't know where they came up with
They
their
do this every
their
year,
study, but
and I know that like Lake Muskoka was on it last year. We covered this story.
well, yeah, we kind of laughed at, not laughed at it. We thought, okay, that's kind of
So maybe it's like where people are traveling to the most.
Wait a minute. Hold it. Time out.
Here we go. I like where he's going here.
Call a time out.
I like where we're going here.
You two just said you remember last year's version of this.
He reminded me of that. I wouldn't have remembered it until he
I was
reminded
going
me.
to call bullshit immediately on that.
There's a bunch of bullshit.
Thank you.
You can do that.
Because there's no way in hell that you remember from a year ago.
No, you're
that
right.
Report.
I wouldn't have remembered until
way.
Dean reminded me. Then I thought, hey, because we talked about this. We said, wait a second. Why is that on that list? We did the same thing. We did. Didn't we, Dean? Didn't we, Dean?
Sure
Wherever I have
did.
to look.
You
And I
can
was
watch
looking at
the
38
tape.
cameras, and then Dean's over here.
You can't even remember where to look, for
Jeez.
God's sakes.
I'll tell you what, they said about Lake Diefenbaker here, and I'm going to
Yes.
add something in. Lake Diefenbaker species include giant walleye, pike, perch, whitefish, and even lake trout, and burbot during the winter months. Now, what they, in my mind, forgot was rainbow trout, which I think is the biggest, the most astounding fish species in Lake Diefenbaker. These are stock trout, triploid trout, and they are gigantic. From what I've ever seen and heard in history, they were like, how'd you make out there, kid? They're like big, thick, solid, beautiful rainbows that the guys are getting at nighttime and all that, and mostly through the open water, but they are getting them through the ice too. So I don't know why they didn't include that either. That's just, we're not slagging you guys there, fishing Booker. We're just saying we'd like to know maybe a little more. Maybe we should get them on a web podcast sometime.
Well,
I think
there's
they're robots.
See, maybe that's it.
If we could get one of the runners here today, pick up my cup.
What the hell? The cup's doing nothing down there. It's empty. Just leave it there.
Well,
It's your
no,
OCD.
but it plays a very important role in the show.
I got you. Well, you pick it. I got exactly.
Like, I have to think about that. And that's
You
the
know what?
problem in this
You know
show.
what? I'm going to get right up in the middle of the show, and I'm going to get that for you.
Well, you know what?
I'll
It'd
be
be
right- we'll be right
it's
back.
the least that you could do, actually. It's the least you could do, buddy. It's the least. I thank you very much. While the other people...
We'll get Nick to get it. Oh, wait, Nick's not here.
The other people are too busy. Look, Bova's relaxed in his chair.
That would have been a good move for Vova to do right
doesn't
there.
get
He
up
should have said,
to
Mr.
do
Pete,
that.
Pete,
No.
I'll get that for you.
No, it's not in his job description.
If Steve was
right?
here,
He's not making
I'll
it-
get that for you.
Of
Let me
course.
get that
But
for you,
he's-
Ange.
But he's a nice guy.
Exactly. He would have
right?
done it. Well, he'd have waited
But-
till I got it, and then he'd have said, Peter, I could have got that for him.
Fed question of the week. Thank you, Peter. I will.
You're welcome.
Finish that
That'll
off.
you might need that
There's
later
a
on in the
little bit.
show.
There's a little bit.
There is. Yes, we spilt a bit on the floor, but Monique will get that because Vova's not going to clean it up, I'll guarantee you.
Well, I
Right.
doubt that very much.
Yeah,
I
see?
think we stand a better chance of.
Becoming a state.
Yeah,
We've got a
there's
better
that
chance
too.
of Canada becoming a state.
Exactly.
There
Than
you go.
him getting off that chair.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
God forbid. You know, it's
Yes,
not in
sir.
his job description.
Boy, that was a big run for me to get over there. You know that.
You
eh?
okay?
I'm kind of winded, but that's all right.
It was first time you had some physical activity
During
on
the
the
podcast,
show.
yeah. Actually, I don't mind that.
Well, you might have to sit one out. You might have to sit the next one out.
You can take a break while Ange reads the bonus code for this week.
Well, if
Okay.
I was to do that, you know what? That's a great idea. Thank you.
Here we go. Let's take a breath.
Thank you. We interrupt this program to bring you the much anticipated bonus code for the latest Fishing Canada giveaway. This week's code is, now, here you go. Remember this one. Waterproof.
Wow.
Waterproof. This week's code. Waterproof. Go to the section, the bonus code section of the contest, and enter. What is it?
Spill-proof.
Waterproof.
Oh, sorry, that was your cup, the spill-proof cup. Okay.
Waterproof, and you will get 10, not one, 10 free entries.
Come on now.
Over and above your one that you get
So 11?
normally. I would think.
Get extras? Is that right, Dean? They get an extra one?
I would
Yeah,
think.
that's right.
Woohoo!
Every day you go, you get one.
Towards all of the contests there. That's at fishingcanada.com. Giveaways.
Look at the picture, dude. Whoa!
Yep.
You and me, like way back when. Woo-hoo-hoo! Toto! Toddy!
Wow.
Look at that.
Where'd
Look at
that
the
go
hair
from?
on me. Like I got a wig on there. Woo.
Yeah.
Look at that. Remember the Fishing Canada jackets we had?
Oh, they were the best. They were the rain suit. That was a rain suit.
Yeah, there was no tax. It was
No
definitely
tax.
not
It was a
good.
no tax. They're
got
good
wet.
under most conditions
Yeah.
except rain.
They'd
Rain,
break a
they-
3 mile an hour wind, and that was about it.
Yeah. For those who aren't yet entered, what are you waiting for? It's
Yeah.
free, as Dean just said. Head on over to fishingcat.com while you listen to the rest of this wonderful episode, because trust me, I hope you don't have your favorite socks on today, because they will be knocked off. You might lose them with our guests coming
Put some
up.
tie wraps around your ankles because those socks.
There you go.
might,
Tie wraps are good. I've done that before.
And that'll keep them on.
Yep. Click contest, sign up for all the latest Fishing Canada giveaways. Now,
You've done that.
back to the show.
What the hell were you tie wrapping your feet together?
I've done that. I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of
you
it.
and Tangay got a little bit of kinky shit
Well,
going on there at home.
Not proud of it, but fan question of the week, Mr.
That's
Bowman.
awesome. This is from Josh Everett.
Wait a minute. Who's bringing it to you?
Oh, well, you're supposed to do that. Brought to you by fishfindermounts.com. Thank you very much.
Fishfindermounts.com. That's
Established in 2012,
fish-
by the way.
Somebody asked me today, why did they call themselves fishfindermounts.com?
Yeah.
I said, well, because that's what they do. So I know, but GM didn't call itself cars or trucks. Made a good point.
And they have the .com in their name, which is very rare, right?
Right.
That you
Right.
don't see that too often. But Fishing Canada
So
and
then
fishcanada.com. But
So then I asked them, how did you find them? Oh, I went to fishfindermounts.com.
It's brilliant.
Hello.
Is what it is. It's brilliant. Anyways, the question is submitted by Josh Everett via YouTube. Oh, so Josh might be eligible maybe. For,
So is this-
okay? This is
Is
YouTube.
this a qualifier, Dean?
Yeah, it's qualified.
Did he subscribe and everything? Do you
He
know?
did, yeah.
Okay, Josh. Here we go. Here we
You
go.
want
Here we
to
go.
tell,
Here we go.
you
now.
want to tell folks what they have to do, or you want to do it
You
after?
go ahead, or you can do it right now, and then I'll go
Because
back to
we're
the
asking
question.
questions, because that's important, because if you don't, we read this question, but if you haven't complied with Dean Taylor's requirements, then even though it could be a wonderful question and we enjoy it and everything else, we'd have to say
Ixnay.
next name. So what you need to do is go to YouTube. You need to subscribe to this YouTube channel. You need to write a thought-provoking question. How's that? Thought-provoking question.
And the emphasis on question.
I was going to say thought-provoking, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Either one. So now all of it is highlighted.
Oh, there.
Thought-provoking question.
Yes.
Question mark.
Indeed.
Does that have to have a question mark?
Yeah, it does. If you ask Mr. Taylor about that, that was a
Yeah,
key
it does.
to a couple of other possible questions, and then not questions, because that was it. It was.
you go.
It wasn't a question.
It's his rule book, and he wrote it. So
And what happens if they do this and they get selected? What do they get?
I don't know. We'll see. You get 100 buckaroos. That's what you get, kiddies.
$100.
100 buckaroos redeemable on the Fishing Canada store for any of the goodies,
You're gonna
including
see your
now.
Las Vegas Matt there, or whatever his name, come in. He's going to start going for that money now too. He's going after everybody else's.
Wouldn't
He's
surprise
doing
me.
good.
You too can get one of these if you win this.
The trout that Pete eats.
I love that fish, man. It's
Beautiful.
yeah.
It's a beautiful fish.
Carry on, Mr. Roman.
The question, again from Josh Everett via YouTube. Hey, Ange and Pete, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received or a quote that you remember throughout your time with the Fishing Canada show? That's a good one, because that's one like Ange and I need a week to prep for, right? Because we got to go through everything in our mind.
Now, he doesn't say whether it was, okay, so he says, what's the best piece of advice? So that's asking what it was good advice you've received, or a quote that you remember throughout your time with the Fishing Canada show. So the latter I can do.
Oh, I know that one too. I know the one you're going to say, because I got the same one that you do. I'll let you take that one.
Really?
Yeah. No? Okay, maybe I don't. I got a good one.
No, I've got a good one too.
Okay, go for it. The quote.
So
Do the
as
quote.
far as the quote goes, this is something that somebody told me a long time ago. Right? That I have kept, not constantly.
So I don't know
but
this. I'm not going to get the same one, am I? Okay.
You will once I get going.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It came to me, it was given to me at the ripe old age, I think I was 8.
What the? Okay, we don't have the same one.
Sister Mary Roselia.
Oh, my God.
After she finished strapping me, because I had played hooky and got caught on Yashua Creek fishing for suckers.
Strapping your socks on, or what do you mean?
She gave me the old whoopity-doo with the rubber strap. And afterwards she said, because I had been caught fishing on Yashua Creek many times that year and the year before.
She said, there's no fish in there, Angelo. Go
Yeah,
somewhere
exactly.
else.
What are you doing wasting your time? She said, Viola, because they called us by her last name back then. How many times?
The good old Catholic way.
Oh, yeah, they were the best. They were the most brutal. I'm telling you, I think nuns, we underutilize them. And I apologize if there's any nuns watching or listening to this.
Say back in the day.
Back in the day, I think we underutilize them because I think they should have been used as military weapons. I think we could have sent them overseas and to the front lines to win wars.
Ah, shit. They'd be going in like a SWAT team. Everybody goes,
Exactly.
oh my God, here they
Here
come.
come the nuns, hide. She said to me, Viola, how many times do I have to tell you you're never going to make a living by fishing?
Whoa, there's a quote.
And I have never
See?
forgotten those words.
Wow.
There
See?
you go. Sister Mary Roselia, God bless you.
Take that, Mary. He showed you, didn't he?
I'd love to. I've said this a million times. I'd love to talk to her. She's obviously passed away.
Yeah.
But I would love to talk to her all these years later. And
The one
she was
quote that I
crazy.
remember since throughout my time with the Fishing Canada show, this is more literal, is the slogan that you and Reno made up: "Catch your limit, but limit your catch." That's the one I think of the most.
Yeah.
In that it comes so quickly to me, still to this day. I mean, I heard it before I even started working with you guys, back when I knew you guys, and I think it's still to this day is such a strong statement and catchy. But when you really listen to it, you say, "Catch your limit, but limit your catch." Hey, you know what? That's pretty smart.
Why have we not used? Like we used it for about a
We need to
decade.
bring it back on a shirt, on a hoodie.
Oh my God! The
Peter
next.
Peter
Maybe
Bowman.
a sportsman show special.
That's a
Sportsman show
sportsman show special. Catch your limit, but limit your catch. Oh my God!
By the way, I get $2 on every one of those.
Absolutely.
Kickback on this. It's 'cause I like
Absolutely.
it.
I'll give you $2. No problem at all.
You know, I'm going to say the advice thing. I don't remember. I've gotten so much advice throughout time and all that, but I'll give some advice that I've used on this, and that I did it to myself. Is that if you want to learn something specific in fishing, you need to push everything else aside. And I'll give you an example of that. When I was very young, fishing tournaments, et cetera, I loved throwing plastic worms and jigs, and I was all about slow fishing and all that. And I used to get these stories of guys kicking arse on spinnerbaits all day long. We caught 30, 40 fish, and Mike Burris and I, our engine, I whatever, come in with 6. We got good ones, but we didn't get 30 fish the day or whatever. So, and these guys were winning tournaments. So I said, well, obviously there's something to spinnerbaits. I got to learn how to use it. And they'd go out and throw it a few times. Then, no, I pick up my jig and do back to your old stuff. No jigs in the boat, no worms in the boat, no nothing. I went out and threw spinnerbaits for a season, basically, a bass season. And I got damn good with it. I was very confident in it, and I started to catch fish. Same thing now in this modern day with plastics. I'm starting to use the free rig and stuff like that. But you have to concentrate on that. You have to be able to say to yourself, the hardest one is glide baits and big swim baits. It's a hard one to say, I'm going to use that all day long when I know I can catch them on everything else that is in my boat. You know what I mean? But if you can concentrate so hard on that and finally, learn. You're going to learn through mistakes and read and YouTube and everything else. But to me, I've given that myself that extra boost by just challenging myself, I guess.
Some people might be listening to you right now and saying, well, okay, let me see if I get your advice that you're giving me right. So you're telling me that I've got to put away my tried and true presentation that I catch fish with all the time. I got to put it away so I can try some different whacked out
only
presentation I don't even like.
No, if you want to. I said that's the thing. If you want to or need to. I wanted to learn because these guys were telling me they were catching 30 and 40 fish a day in a day, and I was catching 6 fish in a day. I'm saying, okay, I'm doing something wrong. If I'm catching 3 fish in a day and he's catching 35 fish in a day, I'm doing something wrong on that same day that he's out there. So that was just me saying, okay, I got to get better at something.
So you taught yourself yet another way to catch fish. And that's
added
the key.
To the arsenal. Added to the tackle box.
Exactly.
You know what
the key is to be versatile. I don't think there is a fisherman out there that is worth his weight, her weight, and has been successful that is one-dimensional.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Impossible. So versatility, and that's how you learn. You put away your stuff. Your comfort zone has to go.
I'm assuming that's in everything in life. If you want to learn how to throw a curveball, you got to stop throwing fastballs. You know what I mean? So whatever. So.
Alrighty, the main segment of the show brought to you by Sail, the outdoor store, Sail, and how appropriate that they bring
this is going to work in perfect for that.
As we mentioned at the beginning of the program, this is going to be all about you, the audience, going, wow, I did not know that. Before we get there, though, visit a Sail store in your area for all good things outdoors, rods, reels, clothing. Of course, this time of year, are we still in ice fishing season?
Yeah,
Attaboy.
We sure are. I was on the site this morning and just looking to see what was going on. They got a great big orange flag there. It says sale, 50% plus off. They got like 50 off plus 15 off on some of the stuff right now.
Holy
so
smoke. They do any more offs, they're gonna owe you
losing
money.
Yeah. Okay, here's your jacket, sir, and here's $50. Thanks for coming in.
If you don't have a sale in your neighborhood, which is quite likely, we do have one. We're fortunate enough to have one just around the corner. But if you do not have one, visit them at sail.ca for where Peter was, he just mentioned.
Correct.
Sail.ca for all your outdoor goodies. That's sail, SAIL.ca.
Well done, Angelo.
Now, they carry a lot of the stuff that
we're going to talk about
guest,
right now. Absolutely.
Exactly. His name is Stephen Smith. My Life Outdoors on YouTube is where he hangs out and lives and does very well there in terms of audience.
Great job.
Focusing on backpacking gear, offering insights, tips, all that usual stuff. But I think one of the really interesting things, certainly what caught our attention, was that he sometimes does these down-to-earth, I don't know what you want to call them, exposés maybe on brands that we have been so familiar with and using for a number of years.
Still use,
exactly. Joining us now, Steve Smith. How are you, buddy?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, our pleasure.
Thanks
wow.
for coming on.
You knocked our socks off with this GORETEX thing, man. Yeah. Holy smokes.
I bet you've knocked a lot of socks off with that and knocking a lot of jackets off with that, probably, right?
I'm sure we have.
Good for you.
The one we're talking about is called Your Gear is Poisoning You, big exclamation mark. And the other one was the Scam Outdoor Brands Don't Want You to Know. Both of them were almost 3 million views.
Over 2.5 million each. Wow. My God.
Fantastic. Woo. So, first of all, maybe you can give us a bit of background on how you got into this business and what you do.
Well, I guess what I do is I make videos that I find interesting and that I hope other people will find interesting. And so I'm a big outdoor enthusiast. I love hiking, backpacking, camping, and a few other things, skiing and different stuff like that. But back in, it depends on how far you want to go back. All the way back in 2009, I started a blog and just started kind of writing about outdoor activities I was doing, adventures, did a little bit of gear reviews. And then fast forward 10 years later to 2019, I had a good buddy of mine that was reading some of the stuff that I was writing. And he was like, hey, you're a terrible writer.
Nice.
He was like, you should stop with this blog business and you should make videos. Because I'd made some videos for some other things before, and he was like, you're much better at making videos than you are writing. And it's true. I mean, I've got dyslexia. I can't spell to save my life. And so I was like, all right, I'll try making some videos. So I did. Started making videos, started doing gear reviews, got to a point where I wanted to offer something more than just my opinion on the gear that I was reviewing, because it's really easy to say, well, you can, this is good or this is bad because I like it or I don't like it. Right. But I wanted to offer something a little more than that. And so I started trying to do a little more scientific based testing of the gear, and found out about PFAS that we're going to be talking about today, and decided that I wanted to find out how prevalent is PFAS, what is it doing, and so did some testing and made some discoveries.
First off, are you paying your buddy a little bit of commission because he put you in the right direction? Obviously, I think you owe him a little bit of money at least. So
I'm sending him some outdoor gear from time to time.
Good man.
I would imagine. Do you have any? You mentioned you started using science a little bit more as you did these reviews. Do you have any background in that area at all? Like, are you a bit of a scientist nerd at heart, or?
It's probably more the latter. I mean, I certainly don't have any formal training in sciences, but I've always loved science. I've always loved evidence-based type stuff. Grew up watching the MythBusters, and
Yeah.
Well, I guess I didn't technically grow up, but I guess I matured in my adult life watching the MythBusters, and the scientific approach that they took, the kind of backyard scientific approach that they took, and that had a big influence on me and in the way that I wanted to approach the videos that I was making.
Wow.
Well,
and you've never worked in the clothing industry or anything like that, in the GORETEX industry or anything like that in the past?
I have not. I am not an expert, and so we should probably just get that out there. I'm just a guy with a camera.
Right on.
And a guy who uses this stuff in the outdoors. That's probably the most important thing that you bring to the table. I used to tell my customers all the time, I was in the retail business selling this stuff for years ago. It's people who use this stuff that sometimes know more than the people who are making it. Because quite honestly, and I know a couple, and so does Pete, big time clothing manufacturers and distributors, and they know their business, but they don't know the outdoors, right? So people like you that use the stuff, and you sleep in it, and you live in it, you eat in it, and you get the good days and the bad days in the outdoors, all with this clothing. You guys are the experts. I mean, let's be honest about it. Science or not, you guys are the experts. You know what feels good. You know what's cold. What's waterproof. You know what's not waterproof.
Yeah,
all that stuff.
Practical versus theory.
Exactly. Stuff that wears, doesn't wear. I mean, it's all there. On the other hand, we have been using GORETEX in our careers and both our business life and our personal life since. I don't know when, since it was invented.
Yeah, since it was invented, for sure. And we, to this day, until we saw Steven's stove, to this day, we still, swear by it. It keeps us dry. It's supposed to breathe, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, So let's get right to that, can we? Let's talk about the... now, GORETEX is the brand, is the membrane, right? Mm-hmm. This
PFAS situation is not something that just exists within the GORETEX world. It's anybody that's using that product, right, in making it waterproof?
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. And so up until, just recently, I shouldn't say that. There are a lot of different brands that are making PFAS based or ETPFE is what it's called. And that's what they're using to make their membranes. There are other membranes that have been used, and some of those were used by other brands. There was an expanded polyurethane or something like that. It's EPE is what they refer to it as. And they were using that because for a long time, GORETEX had the patent on the ETPFE, which was the PFAS based membrane. And so there's just because it has a membrane doesn't necessarily mean it has PFAS, but the real kicker is that if it has DWR or a durable water repellent finish, it is most likely using PFAS to achieve that DWR.
So the membrane that we're alluding to, in most cases, that's an inner layer of the garment.
Yes.
And then on top of that, you've got the exterior, which we all look at and think, we say, oh, it's GORETEX. No, it's not. It's an exterior skin. Now, the PFAS, is that on the outside on that exterior skin, or is it inside in the membrane?
It's both. If the membrane is using ETPFE, which is what GORETEX has been pretty much since its invention,
right,
is ETPFE. That is a PFAS based fluoropolymer, is what it is, and that's the thing that GORETEX has said is very stable. And for the most part, I think that it is very stable based on what I'm reading and researching and all that kind of stuff. But in order for that membrane or any membrane to function the way that it's marketed, it has to have a DWR coating on the outside because, and so the DWR coating, whenever you get your jacket wet, that's what makes it bead up, so you see the water kind of bead up, almost like a well-waxed car or something like that. And if it doesn't bead up like that, it kind of soaks into the outer layer. So most rain jackets are sandwiched, the membrane, the waterproof membrane is sandwiched between two other pieces of material. And so that outer material soaks in water. It can't get through the membrane, but it can soak into that outer water, into that outer layer. And if that gets saturated, it can't breathe. The membrane can't let any water out because humidity essentially immediately goes up to 100%. And once humidity is up to 100%, you're not going to get any evaporation at all.
Okay. So what about those sprays? We spray our jackets.
I was going to ask the same thing. When
it starts to lose the beading, we spray our jacket. Are they toxic, or are there anything of those that are bad, or is that something totally different?
It depends on who you use. So Nick Wax, Nick Wax, I think is the most prevalent out there that people use. It's good, and so they have not used PFAS since the beginning of the company. So from the very beginning of the company, I can't remember the name of the guy that started that, but he started looking at all this stuff and he's like, I don't like the idea of these chemicals long before we even knew that anything bad was happening with them. He said, I don't like the idea of these chemicals. And so he started looking for a different way to make his formula. And I'm not exactly sure what's in that formula. And I'm not sure if there's other concerns or not with that formula, but I know that the Nick Wax formula does not contain PFAS and never has.
Okay. Sale sells that, by the way.
Yeah, the other one that I use, I think,
is it Granger?
Granger,
yeah, something like
Granger.
That. You know that one?
I don't know anything about Granger.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so aside from GORETEX, which is the brand that we all recognize as being waterproof, breathable in the business, are there other brands that are using this stuff as well that we should be aware of?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, pretty much anything that is touting as water or oil proof is probably using some sort of PFAS. I mean, it's in all kinds of stuff, not just in outdoor brands. We're talking about dental floss. It's made out of PFAS. We're talking about the tape that they put around the plumbing to try to, seal the seals on your plug. Yeah, the Teflon tape. Yeah, Teflon cooking pans. That's made out of PFAS. It's the same stuff. So, I mean, GORETEX is just expanded Teflon. That's what the E stands for in the PTFE, the EPTFE. So I mean, it's in firefighting foams. It's all over the place.
If it's been used, the use is obviously widespread. Why is it that now all of a sudden it's an issue. I mean, I'm assuming all of these different applications for PFAS have all been tested, and I would imagine they all had to go through a rigorous process to get approved in the jurisdictions that they're being sold in, I would think, but that's not the case. Is it?
So as far as I understand, and I admit that I could be wrong on this, but as far as I understand, it's not that they get approved to be sold, it's that they get, what's the word I'm looking for? They find out that they're toxic and then they ban them. And once they get banned because testing has been being done, they come up with a different. And so like different PFASs, some of the most toxic ones are what we called 8-chain fluoropolymer compounds. And they started to figure out that those were super toxic, and people in the plants that were making them were getting very, very sick. There was this whole big cover up by DuPont, who originally invented PFAS and PTFE, and what ended up happening was a farmer who was very near to the camp, or very near to the plant. All of his cows died, and he got a lawyer involved that started working pro bono, and they found out this big cover up that they had known since the early 1970s, that this stuff was harming their employees and harming the communities around them, covering it up. So they made moves to ban it, and then they moved to what we know as a 6-chain fluoropolymer compound. So they took off two of the fluoropolymer, not the fluoropolymer, they took off two of the carbon fluorine bonds on the chain, and it still was doing pretty much what it was doing before. It was just a different chemical compound. And so they were like, okay, well, you ban that one, we're going to make this one. And then they banned that one, and it's okay, we're going to make that one. And they just kept changing the formula just slightly as people started studying them. And it takes years and years and years to study each one of these. And as of right now, we have somewhere between 10 to 15,000 variations of these PFAS chemicals. But we've only studied around, I don't know the exact number, but we have regulations on about 25 to 30 of them out of 10 to 15,000.
Oh my God. Wow. Here's a question for you now. With this PFAS in Teflon pans, you said, dental floss, you said, and of course the jackets and all that. Just as us as humans, when we touch it, when we floss our teeth, we cook our food, is this stuff getting into our systems? Like when you touch your jacket, something like that. Is it dangerous to touch your jacket?
I don't know that it's dangerous to touch your jacket. I don't know that that's the harm. The harm is that it's shedding off of the jacket. It's shedding off of your cooking surfaces. It's shedding off of these firefighting foams, and it's getting into water sources. And the problem with these chemicals, the things that make them so good at what they do, and they're really, really good at what they do, is that they essentially never break down. They're what is known as a forever chemical. Right. And so never, is a relative term. So it actually takes around 1,000 years for them to break down naturally. But that means that once they get into the water sources, once they get into your bloodstream, once they get into the environment, they never go away. And they're bioaccumulative, which means that they just start building up inside those sources. And so because they never go away, more keeps getting in there, the concentrations keep getting higher and higher and higher. And that's the problem. And so even the test that I did, the amounts that I was measuring, these are very, very small, minuscule amounts. And that's not necessarily the problem. The problem is that it's going to continue to build. The more that we use these chemicals, the more that these chemicals are just going to build up and build up and build up and build up until they are points that it's a huge concern.
Okay.
What does it manifest itself into? So it gets into our water table, and then we consume it. What happens to us at that point?
So studies have shown, and again, we haven't studied all of the different PFAS chemical compounds, but from the ones that we have studied, we have found that there are connections to liver, kidney, and thyroid damage, that there are immune and nervous system damage, that there are reproductive and developmental problems, that there's metabolism and body weight issues, that there are cancer-causing compounds associated with this. And so pretty much all the PFAS chemicals that people have studied, they have found reasons to suggest that they are they are contributing to some of these health issues. And these are health issues that millions of people every day are dealing with, and probably have no idea why all of a sudden they've just developed, some sort of liver issue or kidney disease or thyroid problem.
Right.
And they just think, well, I just did. But probably a big part of it is the fact that it's in their drinking water, it's in their dental floss, it's in the pans that they've been cooking with, it's in all these things that we use on a daily basis. It's in food packaging, it's in all kinds of different things that we
Food packaging.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, it's
that's
crazy.
insane.
And they do that. They do that with the food packaging because a lot of foods are greasy and oily, and PFAS is really good at repelling grease and oil.
Yeah.
And so they line the packaging with that so that the packaging doesn't get soaked up with the grease.
Wow, it's on our food. Is there, okay, now maybe this is too soon in this conversation, but I'm wondering, is there anything out now? I'm sure there's companies working on an alternative to GORETEX that is as good as, but without PFAS. Is there anything out there yet?
Yes, and so that expanded poly, I can't remember exactly what it stands for, but it's the EPE membrane, okay. And GORETEX now is producing an EPE membrane. They just started at the end of last year producing an EPE membrane, and part of that is because California, which is the fifth largest economy in the world, and the state of New York, the state of Maine, I'm not exactly sure what's going on in Canada. I know that Canada has made some moves to regulate PFAS in drinking water, but as far as in textiles, so Canada, Maine, New York, and a handful of other states have started making moves to ban PFAS in those textiles. And REI, which in the United States is a huge, outdoor retailer, they have said that they are no longer going to sell gear and garments with PFAS. And so that has kind of forced the hand of GORETEX to say, okay, we're going to come out with an alternative. It doesn't mean that they are going to stop producing or making the membranes that do have the PFAS chemicals, but they are at least providing alternatives so that they can continue to make sales in those areas with those restrictions.
Is that the first retailer to make that announcement in the U.S.?
I don't know that for sure. I know that they did make that announcement and that it went into effect at the end of 2024. And so basically starting with 2025, all their gear is PFAS free if it's being sold inside REI. And so I don't know if other retailers have done that or not. And I know that even REI had to be pressured into it. And so there was a group of activists and concerned people that put a lot of pressure on them to opt out of these chemicals.
Are you an activist?
I mean, I don't know that I would consider myself an activist. I am someone who is wanting to support people in the outdoors and help them make good informed decisions on the products that they are buying. It was people in my comment sections that first put me on to the PFAS in DWRs and other things. And, some of the videos that I was making, and I was just talking about DWR and treating your jackets and how important that was. And people were like, yeah, but you need to be concerned about PFAS. And I'm like, what is PFAS? And so I started looking into it, started learning more about it. Learned that it is in all these different or that it is reportedly in all these different water sources, and that made me curious. And so I thought, I'm also kind of a person that I want to find out for myself. Right. And so I was like, well, if it really is in all these different water sources, I want to go find out. And so I contacted a lab, found somebody that would do the testing for me, decided I was going to go out, take the water samples of the different water sources and find out, is it really in all these water sources that shouldn't have anything in them because they're so far away from human civilization. And then during that process of kind of going through that, the lab was telling me that you got to be careful the way that you take the samples because it sheds off the clothing, that's all in our clothing and shedding off the clothing, and you can contaminate your sources with the clothing that you're wearing. And so I started looking for PFAS-free clothing. And then that's when I found out that Fjallraven, which is one of the big manufacturers who's making PFAS-free gear, whenever I contacted them and started figuring out what I was going to use for the video, they said, we want to be careful. We're not PFAS free, we don't intentionally use PFAS. And I got a chance to talk with the CEO recently after this video came out. I got a chance to talk with the CEO of Fjällräven, and he told me that the Greenpeace over in Europe started doing some things where they were just pulling garments off the shelves of retail stores and testing them, especially garments that were saying they're PFAS free, and testing them to find out if they truly were. And Fjällräven had done all these moves and all these measures to try to make this PFAS free gear. And then Greenpeace came back and said, no, you still got PFAS in your gear.
Gee.
And the CEO was telling me that they started scrambling because they're like, what happened? Where did it come from? You know, all this kind of different stuff. And what it ended up being, he told me, was that their jackets were on the shelf next to some GORETEX jackets. And it was rubbing off the GORETEX jackets onto their garments.
There you go. Like I said,
so
touching it. Maybe.
Yeah. And so I learned this through the process of trying to find this PFAS free gear. And that's what made me think it's actively coming off these products. And so I wanted to find out for myself. And so I built a little rain chamber. I put a GORETEX jacket in there.
That was great, by the way.
Yeah.
That testing, that's so
thank
visual
you.
and fantastic. Blew me away.
I'm going to ask you, how much money does it cost you? Because you got more than one experiment going on. You build all these crazy little shit things. They're awesome. How much money do you put into that, do you think?
Well, I mean, it depends. So for the GORETEX video, the biggest expense on the GORETEX video was the testing itself. So it costs about $600 to $1,000 US per test to do the PFAS testing. It's very, very expensive. Right. And so I did, how many tests did I do? I did 4 in the field, and I did 2 on the jacket. And so I did a total of 6 different tests for that video. Plus I built the rain chamber and all that kind of stuff. And so I put probably, I don't know, between $5,000 and $10,000 into that video, trying to produce it. And again, not because I did not expect to make that back necessarily. Of course. I originally had a sponsor that was helping me with that, but they decided they didn't want to be a part of it whenever the actual content of the video came together. They were like, we don't want to be associated with this. So they backed out.
I was going to say, are you being approached now by companies who, have taken the high road in this whole process, the PFAS? Are you being approached by these companies now, saying, "Hey, can you redo us? Because look, we're clean now, and we don't want our name being tarnished anymore."
So I haven't been approached by specific companies saying that we want to be retested necessarily. But I am curious about that. And the biggest hindrance to doing that is the cost of the testing. Right. So I've gotten a lot of requests from viewers saying, well, can you test this or can you test that? Hey, well, do it again, but do this, and I'm like, well, I'd really like to, but. Yeah. Every time that I do that, I got to make sure that I'm not losing money at least every time I make a video like this.
Is it safe to say that this has been your most, obviously, I won't call it lucrative, but your most successful? You've done a couple of hundred videos now, right? And would this be your most successful 2 videos, the ones that we're talking about?
Well, if you count it specifically by views, no. I've got a couple of videos that have larger views than that, but they've also been around longer, and so they've had more time to build up those views. Right. So there's a handful of videos that I've done that have become kind of these like little passion projects for me, and when that happens, I invest a lot of time and money into them, and most of the time, when I invest time and money into a video, I don't recoup it. It doesn't do as well as I want it to do. And this video was the first one that I put this much time and money into it, and it actually started performing really well. And so I was pleased with that, at least. And so I think at this point, with the success of the video, I think I have made back my money on that, and at least broken even, if not having earned a little bit.
That's why I asked to the audience listening. That's why I asked Stephen about the money put in, because you really should go and look at these videos, because when you see the setups that he's got, these testing devices that he builds and creates, it's very interesting, and you can tell he's passionate about it. And obviously, this stuff it seems to be working. For you, your results, it seems to be working, right? So, but it's really neat to watch. People should check it out.
Are you doing your own production?
Yes. Yeah, I do. Wow. I do basically everything myself. I write, film, edit, all that myself. I got an assistant that helps me with emails, and I've got a couple guys that are helping bring in sponsorships. But other than that, as far as the production of the videos, it's all me.
It's excellent.
I got one more question for you, Stephen. On one of your videos I was watching, it was an alternative. I think it was an alternative. You're wearing a Columbia. It was a greenish jacket or green. I mean, it was really. It looked like it was stuck to your skin almost. It looked like it was the way it should be. Was that waterproof in that? Like it looked. You were to make it sound like it's waterproof, but to me, I'm looking at it saying this guy's soaked underneath that.
Yeah, so that video, what I was trying to talk about was I'm trying to talk about that breathable membranes in general have a lot of science going against them for them to work. And part of the problem is that when you have rain, whenever rain is falling, you have quite a bit of humidity in the air. Right. And in order for water to evaporate, there needs to be room in the air to accept more water. And if you get really high humidity, all the way up to 100% humidity, there's no room. The air is completely saturated with water. And so evaporation is just not going to happen. And you're not going to get breathability without evaporation. And so it doesn't matter what the technology is. If it says that it's waterproof and breathable, it can't do both of those at the same time. It can be breathable and it can be waterproof, but it can't be waterproof and breathable at the exact same time. And so it's kind of a little bit of a misleading marketing. And in that particular jacket, one of the reasons why I started working on that video was because we talked about the DWR coating earlier in the video, and that the breathable membranes need that DWR coating in order to work properly. That jacket is a technology that has eliminated the need for the DWR coating because the membrane is the outer layer. They haven't sandwiched it between two pieces of material. It is the outer layer. What you're looking at is the membrane itself. And so it doesn't need the DWR because the membrane is waterproof, but it still has a problem. And I think a lot of people got misled in that video thinking that I was saying this jacket works and this one doesn't. What I was really saying is none of these jackets work.
Wow.
Okay, I got you.
It's a fascinating subject.
It really is.
And I'm sure you could do part 2, 3, 4, and 5 of that video if you wanted to. Is that something that you're looking at? Or are you looking at continuing down that road?
So I mean, I've got lots of different ideas, lots of different videos that I want to make. I haven't specifically thought about following up that video. I am doing a PFAS follow-up video. And so one of the things that I had a lot of comments asking was, okay, but now what do we do? So if we have this gear, what do we do with it? If it's in our drinking water, what do we do with it? If it's in our blood, what do we do with it? And so I'm doing a follow-up to that. I had several people say that if you have your blood tested and you find out that you got high levels of PFAS in your blood, then one of the ways to get rid of it is to donate plasma. And that by donating plasma, I don't know this for sure, but as I'm saying it right now out loud, it seems like you might be donating your PFAS. I don't know.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say. So you get rid of it, give it to somebody else, you get the good stuff, and you're off to the races.
Yeah, it's a good deal.
And I think that's the thing. The plasma regenerates, and it regenerates without PFAS. And so I'm going to do some testing. I've got a lab that's going to do some blood testing for me, and I'm going to test my blood before, see what my PFAS levels are. I'm going to go donate some plasma, test it after, see if my PFAS levels go down. And so,
who do we owe this whole madness, the PFAS? Who came up with it? What industry originally? Because there's always, I know in fishing line, for example, monofilament line. It came from the surgical industry, and then it sort of got moved around and ended up in fishing. Where did PFAS start? Like, what did we build it for? And who did
DuPont,
it? And who did it?
DuPont was the company that originally discovered PFAS. It was actually an accident that they made. They were trying to do something else. One of the scientists, one of the chemists spilt some of it on his shoe, and then he noticed that his shoe was repelling water. And so he was like, hey, what's going on here? And that's how they discovered PTFE or PFAS. Wow. And so they're the ones that originally first started making it, marketing it, and producing it. And they are also the ones that did a huge cover up. They started finding all these issues with their employees. They started removing women off of the production lines because they were finding out that some of the women that had been working with this, their children were being born with defects. Wow. And so they had there's tons of information that has been released now about all this stuff that was going on in the 60s and 70s when they were first doing this. And DuPont knew about it the entire time. There's a wonderful movie called Dark Waters, that if you go watch Dark Waters, it's based on the true story. It's based on how they found out that this was happening, and the farmer who had the cows that died, and he was just wow. Something's happening with the plant next door, and it all came unraveling.
Where was this plant? What state was it?
Oh goodness, I don't remember. If I tell you, I'm going to be wrong. Okay. But I want to say it was Michigan.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if that's right or not.
Yeah. To say that you have certainly piqued our interest, we're going to have to rethink this whole waterproof garment thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in it.
This stuff.
We live in it. We literally live in it, right? In our business. So we're going to have to.
We don't even wear. It could be a totally rain-free day, but if it's cool though, we put it on as our shell, our outer shell, right? Yeah. So we use it all the time, basically. Huh.
Wow. Are you at liberty to give us an indication of what garments, what brands are out there that are free of toxins?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. And so I can't remember off the top of my head. Fjällräven is the brand that I went to try to get all my rain gear and clothing and stuff like that. A lot of brands are moving that way.
Sale, by the way,
has been making.
Really? Yep. Yeah. So sorry.
Yeah, Keen Shoes has been making PFAS-free shoes for a very long time. Those are the shoes that I was making. In the description of the video about PFAS, I've got a long list of brands that have at least made some products that are PFAS-free. Others have made a commitment to take their entire line PFAS-free. And so there are a lot of brands out there. And as regulations and retailers and other things start making rules against PFAS, there are a lot more brands that are saying, okay, hey, we gotta figure something out. And
obviously the ideal scenario would be that these brands, Arc'teryx comes into mind because I know you use that and so do we. The perfect world would have those companies going to the manufacturers and saying, hey, you want to stick with us and you want our brand on your garments, get rid of anything that
yeah, and so that's the other problem is that, and that's something that Fjällräven has told me, is they have a problem with the machinery. And so if a piece of machinery is used to make something with PFAS, and then you turn around a day later and start making another garment that's PFAS free, the machinery can contaminate the new PFAS free material. And a lot of these industrial machineries, they use PFAS as lubricants.
Oh my God.
Because it's such a good lubricant. But again, repels the oil and all that kind of stuff. And so they're using it as lubricant to make these machines run appropriately or properly. And so, it's just getting away from it at this point is going to be a very, very long journey.
Yeah, no kidding.
Crazy. Fascinating subject, Stephen. Appreciate you taking the time to come and see us. The two videos that caught our interest, Your Gear is Poisoning You on YouTube, and the Scam Outdoor Brands Don't Want You to Know are both absolutely must see videos.
It's great
for anybody who's in the outdoors
and
professes to know anything about outerwear that's waterproof and breathable. You must see this video.
And it's on My Life Outdoors, correct, Stephen? That's your YouTube channel?
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You Google My Life Outdoors, you ought to be able to find me.
By the way, just as an FYI, I have My Outdoor Life Outdoors. I own that.
Oh.
Yeah.
You'll sell it to you if you want. If you're paying all that money for testing, you might as well grab that up while you're at it.
Stephen, thank you so much. Any other areas that people can get a hold of you and contact you?
Yeah, I'm on YouTube is my biggest outlet. I'm also on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all those. And so, if you find My Life Outdoors in one of the areas of social media, you ought to be able to find me.
Awesome.
Stephen Smith, thank you, my friend. Best of luck, and let's get together soon as you start breaking through maybe other areas. Love to get you on the show and let us know.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was fun.
All right,
Pleasure.
Stephen. Thank you.
Stephen Smith just blew me away.
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well...
Eye-opening. We're going to throw our rain gear away now, right?
What do we do?
Put on garbage bags. We'll just wear garbage bags in the Fishing Canada show.
No, I'm serious now. What do we do with all that expensive clothing? I mean...
I know. Well, as of now, we got to start looking for an alternative, I think. You know what I mean? See if we can find something that's PFAS free. There's a written, Dean must have wrote this in, there's alternatives to GORETEX right now that are out there. It's called eVent. There's one called Paramo Nikwax Enology. I think Nikwax is the one company he talked about.
Yeah.
Pertex Shield, P-E-R-T-E-X, Pertex Shield. North Face Future Light. Patagonia's H2NO. And Polartex Neo Shell. So I guess all these are starting to become...
We gotta call our buddy Ian Mucher.
Yes.
We got to find out what he knows about this stuff. Right?
Oh, I can't imagine. Can you imagine what he's going to say? Poor Stephen. Like, thank God Stephen is off the air when we talk to Mucher, because he will cut him a new one.
Or not.
Or not. Maybe not.
You never know. We're gonna send him
we have to ask him.
We're going to send him a copy of this.
For sure.
This video. So.
Yeah.
That or it. I mean, there you go. GORETEX is no longer the bright, shiny star that we in the outdoors have all, and we've all been promoting the hell out of it.
Hell yeah.
Pushing it because
great,
it
right?
is
it does what it says.
Waterproof and breathable.
Yep.
That's all we need, right?
Yeah.
But now we have to change directions.
It's funny, it's just not outlawed. It's just like, that's it. You can't use PFAS anymore because it sounds like it's in everywhere. Yeah. It sounds like it's used everywhere. So,
alrighty. I want to remind folks we do not in our contests give away anything that has PFAS in it.
That's correct.
We check before we produce this episode.
That's right.
So, is that right, Dane?
I hope that's right, but you never know. It sounds like it's in everything. So
okay.
We give away P crafts every now and then. We got
Prince crafts.
I'm
sure they're
every now and we've had that in a contest before.
They're PFAS free.
Yes,
guarantee you. I know the boys there personally. But go there. Contests that are just Fishing Canada and some that are in cooperation with J&B Cycle. J&B Cycle Marine, by the way, if you're not aware of them, you need to go check them out for sure. The largest Princecraft mercury dealer in the country. In the country, or is it Ontario?
the world.
It's Ontario.
In the world,
In
probably.
the world.
Well,
I would say world.
he might have some competition in Quebec for Princecraft.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thomas
Marine. They're pretty big.
Yeah.
So let's say Ontario for sure.
All right.
And
We
and
should
then we'll
organize
go-
a battle between them.
Oh, the Battle of the Princecrafts.
I love that.
Big derby. A big derby on neutral water. Where would that be?
you-
So between Timmins and Montreal, let's say. Okay. Lake Superior. There it is.
If you're looking for them, jbcycle.com. Their name is J&B Cycle and Marine, but if you want to find their .com site, it's JB Cycle. Just want to get that straight because I used to get it wrong all the time. Well, in fact, I was getting it right, but I was being told that I was doing it wrong.
Well, you were getting it right in one avenue, but using the wrong avenue to get the right. So
I got better idea. You just go to
you can call me Ray,
fishingcanada.com.
or you can call me Jay, you can call me Ronnie, or you can call me
Thank you
Johnny.
very much for your attention. Once again, on behalf of the entire crew, Boba there, Nick not there, Dean over there.
I love it. I love it.
Peter over here.
Sometimes Peter here.
He's in school again. He's
Is he?
schooling. Yeah, he's got school.
Get the hell out of here. I saw him here this morning twice.
Yeah, boy's educating himself.
Wow.
A lot more than we ever
Going to
thought.
get his grade 10 finally?
I'm hoping he'll be he'll
Be up
outdo
there.
his family. That's for sure. Thanks for trying. I don't know what this nonsense is all about. How the hell do I know? It's like when we get to this point in the show, it's like I got to burn up a little more time. Like we haven't taken enough of your time. I got to burn it up with nonsense.
That's if they've stuck with us this long.
That's
they
it.
might just be done.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you later. This episode of Outdoor Journal Radio is brought to you in part by the Invasive Species Centre, protecting Canada's land and water from invasive species. Freedom Cruise Canada, Rent the boat, own the memories. J&B Cycle & Marine, your home for all things power sports, boats, and equipment. And Sail, the ultimate destination for your outdoor adventures.